Well, guys, we'll move on to the next topic. That is next chapter, not actually the next topic, next chapter. So this chapter, this is authentication 2, as I already specified in the previous videos. The authentication process, now in your syllabus it has been divided into two chapters, authentication 1 and authentication 2. So in authentication 2, we'll start our discussion with centralized authentication. So why we moved to this centralized authentication? What is this centralized authentication is? So to understand this centralized authentication, so first we'll let me just brief up the the pros and cons of the public cryptography, public key cryptography, and secret key cryptography. So there are a number of advantages of secret key cryptography over public key cryptography. Okay, so as you all know, these are the two different types of protocols which we discussed in detail in the previous chapter. So if you are interested to work with secret key cryptography protocols, so what protocols or how the communication takes place, or what exactly or how exactly the protocols work, we have already discussed in the previous chapter. So now before I would explain you the concept of centralized authentication, let me just brief up the advantages of secret key cryptography over public key cryptography. So first one is the digital certificates and the public key infrastructure. These two components are very much needed when it comes to public key cryptography. Okay, I mean this digital certificates and public key infrastructure. These two are actually these two support the public key cryptography, and there is a substantial cost involved to set up and maintain the public key infrastructure. And also this public key private key operations are relatively slow compared to the secret key operations. Okay, the only disadvantage or the limitation of secret key is if it is communicating with only one person, then it sounds good. If one person is communicating with many, so then that many, I mean to say that n number of users public key or the session keys should or secret key should be maintained by that one user. So the limitation is in managing and securely storing a large number of keys is the non-trivial task when it comes to the secret key cryptography. Okay, so let me just brief things once again. So when it comes to the public key cryptography, so public key cryptography is supported by digital certificates and public key infrastructure. Okay, and the cost involved to set up the public key infrastructure is substantially very high. Okay, and also the generation of public key and private key and maintaining them, all this is it is slow when compared to the session key concept or the secret key cryptography concept. But when it comes to secret key cryptography, what is the limitation? If you ask me, the only limitation is if a person wants to communicate with multiple people or some n number of people, so that person has to maintain that n number of keys within him. Okay, so the challenge here is the managing and storing this large number of keys. This itself is a non-trivial task. So these limitations of both secret key cryptography and public key cryptography actually forced people to come out with a new concept where it has been named as key distribution center, KDC. Okay, so this KDC or key distribution center, it is a trusted third party that shares the long-term secret keys with clients and servers securely. Okay, see, the only reason of this distribution center, why this came into picture, and how this center was made very efficient, all these things I'll be explaining you. Okay, so before to that, why this came into picture, it is because of the limitations of the secret key cryptography concept and public key cryptography concept. Okay, but this is not a new concept. Okay, but instead this is a polished one. Okay, since still we are using secret key cryptography concept and public key cryptography concepts are still used, but their limitations are overcome by this key distribution center. Okay, so this key distribution center, basically this is a trusted third party. So this trusted third party has a responsibility of sharing this long term. Now comes the question, ma'am, what is this long term and short term secret keys? Okay, so short term secret keys are session keys. Okay, so these keys, they exist and they are used until the session gets completed. Okay, long term secret keys are like, today I'll use that key to encrypt some file, and if I want to decrypt the same file, I'll be using the same key after certain years. Okay, so such keys will be stored. So the key which is stored and accessed very rarely. Okay, such keys are called as long term secret keys. Okay, so usually they are the public private keys what we speak about. Okay, so those comes under the category of long term secret keys, whereas short term secret keys are the keys which are generated only for certain period of time. Okay, so until the session gets completed, only until then the key will exist, and later on they will be discarded. Okay, so as I already mentioned, public and private key operations are relatively slow compared to secret key operations. That is the limitation, one of the limitation of the public key cryptography concept. Managing and securely storing large number of keys is a non-trivial task. So that is the limitation of secret key cryptography. So there comes the concept of key distribution center. What is this center? So this is a trusted third party. So what people have to do here is, people have to get registered to this KDC and they have to choose a password. Okay, so how exactly it will happen is, see, if some person A wants to communicate with B, so what A will not go and directly communicate with B. Instead, A will communicate to this key distribution center, saying that sharing its identity and also to whom it wants to communicate with. Okay, so for that purpose, this key distribution center, what it does is, it will generate a key, a long term key will be generated here. So AB is the key. Okay, and that is a session key, I can just tell. Okay, so that will get encrypted by the key A. Yeah, this is a long term key. So this long term key will be shared between A and KDC in some other form. Okay, in some other means of communication, they would have shared some key. So using that key, this person KDC will encrypt the session key, and that will be communicated to A, and also he'll take a responsibility of communicating the same to B. Okay, so now both have got session keys. So A will now directly send messages to B, encrypting using the key AB. Okay, so that this is how this is just a overview. Things happen in a very different way, but to give a brief introduction of key distribution center, this is what actually happens. Okay, so now A and B hereafter, while communicating, they'll exchange the messages encrypting this AB session key that has been generated by this key distribution center. Okay, so you can see here, this person will send to B, encrypting it by the secret key that has been shared between B and KDC. So B can view to it using that key, that common key. Okay, So this key distribution center, the protocol is susceptible to numerous types of replay or man-in-middle attack. So you know what is, in general, you know what is replay attack and what is man-in-middle attack. So it is actually susceptible. Not only this, if you take any cryptographic algorithms, they will be susceptible to one or the other type of attacks. So how will we manage, how people came out with protocols, how many versions of protocols did they came up, how the corrections were done, all these things will be discussing in detail. Okay, so these attacks or the protocols, here we'll be discussing two types of protocols in your syllabus. One is Needham Schroeder protocol and Kerberos. Okay, so these are the two protocols what we have, okay, for the discussion purpose. So first one, I'll take this Needham Schroeder protocol. So here we have, as I already mentioned, it was not that on a whole they came out with one single protocol. They came out with one protocol. There was some like it was prone to attacks. So next they thought how to overcome this attack. That resulted with version 2. Again version 2 was also prone to attacks. So next they came out with version 3. Again version 3 had certain it was prone to attacks again. So they finally came out with the version 4, and that was concluded as a final version. So first let me explain you what was the first version of this Needham Schroeder protocol is. Okay, so what this person A does, so A will send the identity of A and the identity of the one with whom it is intending to communicate with. Okay, so on receiving this, the key distribution center will generate the session key AB, and the same will be communicated. But you can just see here we have two fields in the message that is being sent back. So we have the session key directly and the session key which has been encrypted by using B shared secret key. Okay, so and this entire message is actually encrypted by the shared secret key of A and KDC. Okay, so on receiving this, it will decrypt, but it will not be able to view the content of what is sent to B. The same will be just sent to A, sent to B, whatever it is being received by KDC, and along with this, this person A will also send a challenge. So if you have listened to the previous video, I have explained you what is this challenge. It is also called as nouns, the challenge response protocol, why we need this, its importance, all these things we have already discussed before. Okay, so now A will generate a challenge, and the same challenge is sent to B. Okay, so you see, you can just see it has been encrypted using the session key AB. Okay, so the B, what it does, it will decrypt first this message. It will get to know the session key. Later on it will use that session key to decrypt this challenge, and that challenge here, see what procedure here they follow is, they will not generate a new challenge. Instead the response will be like, it will generate a challenge, and along with that the previous one whatever they have sent, it will decrement it. So again this is one level of authentication. Okay, so it will decrement the sent challenge, and both will be encrypted using the session key, and the same will be conveyed to A. So on receiving this, A will also accept the challenge, and in response it will decrement the challenge given R2. So in the previous class, if you remember, we were sending the same challenge, or the nouns were again sent back to B, but now what we'll do is we'll have this R2, so R2 minus 1. Okay, so it will be decremented, so it will be decremented by 1, and the same will be sent to B. Okay, but now the question is what is or how the attacker will attack, or how will manage to look into the content. Okay, so so this is like here this what figure, it depicts the man in middle attack. Okay, for the preliminary version 1. So what this person attacker X does is he'll what attack the channel where this A had sent its identity and the identity of one with whom it wants to communicate with. Okay, so now on receiving this, he'll what it does is he'll keep the identity of A to he'll retain the identity of A, and along with that he'll also send, instead of B he'll mention it as X. And he'll mention it as X. Okay, so this person on receiving the key distribution center will generate, so this X will also be aware. This person attacker would also got registered to this key distribution center. So key distribution center will not be aware whether it is an attacker or a genuine person. So even that person would have got registered. So using these two, for these two people, this KDC would have generated a session key, and the same will be conveyed to X. So what this person X does is the same thing will be directly sent to A, isn't it? So A, now what it does, instead of sending it to B, since it has received, you can just see, as I mentioned in the previous I mean to say just now when I was explaining the previous concept to you, I mean to say the version 1. So I had stressed a point saying that it will decrypt it, it will get to know the session key, and the second part of the message will be conveyed directly. Okay, see, it will simply directly convey whatever the encrypted format it has got, the same thing, and the session key, whatever it has been provided to it, using that session key it will just create a challenge, and that challenge will be conveyed. So now it will never go reach this person B, instead it will just go and reach to X. I mean to say, though A might intend to communicate to B, now B place will be replaced by X. So it has completely attacked the channel of A, where A is sending its messages. Okay, so hereafter X will pretend to be as B, and it will establish the communication with A. So this is how the man-in-middle attack happens in version 1. Okay, so now how the enhancement was done to overcome this man-in-middle attack was, so they just thought to add one more entity here. Okay, so the concept was to add the entity of B, identity, one of the entity. So the entity is nothing but the identity of B. See, the same message now will have the identity of B as well. Okay, so the added point here is identity of B. So just by looking into this, it will now get to know that yes, A is communicating to B, because if X attacks in between, so X now has to replace even this B, isn't it? So that cannot happen, that is not actually possible. So for that purpose, but how he'll manage to attack now is the very beautiful concept. What he'll do is the man-in-middle attack, or what exactly happens in this case is, so this person A will send his identity and the identity of B. The KDC will receive it, and it will also generate the session key, and now this message is actually attacked by the attacker. What he does is, now he'll replace this entire message by the message of previous conversations. Okay, so what this person X had done is, he'll sit and collect all the previous messages that was actually sent by this KDC whenever this A has actually requested for the communication establishment between A and B. Okay, so what he'll do is, he'll just send one of the previous messages that were sent by KDC to A. Okay, so the old what you can see here, it is B dash. Okay, so A, B dash, and also you can see here B dash. So old key of B, see what happens, I'll tell you. What might have happened, I'll tell you. So this X would have somehow tried to hack the details of B. Okay, so and he has been successful to get to know the key of B. Okay, the shared secret key of B with KDC, or all is secret informations of B. So B would have been aware of this, or somehow he got to know that yes, he is been hacked. So what he'll do, he'll again request KDC for a new key. Okay, and KDC would have given him a new key. Now what he'll do, this person attacker will have the old key of B. Okay, so now during this conversation, A is not aware of all these details. A would have not been in contact with B at all to get to know that this person has requested for a new key or anything as such. Because each time when the session has to get established, the session will get established through this trusted third party. Okay, so this person would have generated a new key. This B, it is a new key that is actually shared between KDC and B. Now this person attacker, what he does, since A is in was kept in dark or was not been aware of all this that has happened in the background, this person will send the old key of B. So A will receive and accept that old key itself as the session key, and it will send the message. Anyhow, this message will is communication. The person A communication channel is completely hacked. It has been the communication channel has been intruded by the attacker. So whatever the message that A will intend to send it to B will now be received by X, and X will be impersonating B completely. Okay, so this is how the attacker still managed to attack the Needham Schroeder protocol. Okay, so next again they thought of coming with a version 3. So in version 3 what they did was, a challenge was actually generated by A in the very initial message to the key distribution center. Okay, so this person will add the challenge as a response, and the same will be conveyed to A. So A will then, this process is again the same what we were discussing before. Okay, so now again how will this person man in middle attack will actually manage to spoil things is, now the attacker would have attacked this A, and he might be all his details would have been taken by the attacker, and also he can manage to attack this trusted third party and get to know the details of all the users who have got registered to this KDC. Even this can also be happened. So when the person attacker has managed to get the details of B, I mean to say all his secret key details, then definitely he can manage to get the secret key details of A, secret key details of this KDC. So even in that case also this protocol would fail. So in this to just overcome all these attacks, to to overcome or to work with these attacks, so to defeat, I was just searching for that word, to defeat all these man in middle attacks, or for all these versions, so they came out with the one final version. So that final version is where A will communicate with B directly. Okay, just observe here. So first A will directly communicate with B. So B in response will send a challenge to A. Okay, so A will not be aware of this key. Fine. So this B, the secret key of whatever, I mean to say, A has not got any privilege to decrypt it. So on receiving the message, the same will be conveyed to the key distribution center now, along with a new challenge R3. So this key distribution center now, because here whether this B is attacked or even that, to take care of that as well. Okay, so now this key distribution center will send the details. The session key will be generated, that session key will be sent, and you know, in the previous chapter when I was explaining, in each and every message will keep the identity. So for that purpose, the identity of B will also be conveyed. So in the version 2 we had observed, we had added this identity of B, and the challenge given by A, so that R3 will also be there. And if within this encrypted message for B, it has got the identity of A, saying that you will be communicating with A hereafter with the session key AB, and the challenge for you is R4. I mean to say, you had sent the challenge that was R4. Okay, so it has, this KDC can decrypt it, isn't it? So KDC will decrypt this message. It will get to know that R4 is present here, so that R4 also will be appended to the message, and it will be sent to A. So on receiving this, A will decrypt it, and it will look into the session key identity, that is B, and the challenge R3 which was sent. Okay, fine. So that authenticates that it has received the message from KDC, and now whatever the encrypted, the other encrypted message using B will be conveyed to B along with the challenge R1. This R1 is now encrypted using the session key AB. So on receiving this, this person like decrements R1 by 1, and R2, a new challenge will be generated, and the same will be conveyed to A. A, on receiving that, it will decrypt it and again encrypt the decremented value of R2 to B. So this is the final version, which is actually not what attacked, or where the attacker would find it very difficult to attack this protocol. Okay, so this is the final version of Needham Schroeder protocol. Okay, so next is to discuss about another type of protocol, that is Kerberos. So that I'll be explaining in the next video.